but I see this one patch that's just extremely dense. Big gate, the gate of, the desert hardwoods with the pitaya dulce and the big mesquite posts running down. Big gate, and there's not a sign or anything. It definitely looks private as can be. But I was like, I'm gonna go in there. So yeah, parked my truck and I opened the gate, let myself in. And then, yeah, it was just one of the best decisions I've ever made of my life.
Welcome to Jump Podcast. I'm your host, Traveling Jackie, and I'm here to explore travel, adventure, and lifestyle in ways meant to motivate you to move and experience the world outside your comfort zone and to do big, courageous things with your one life. Let this show be a source of advice and inspiration, and remember that in the end, it's you who takes the leap. Hey everyone, welcome back and thanks for joining us today. I'm going to start with a question for you guys listening out there. Do you ever feel like when you travel, a super strong connection to a place that seems to come out of nowhere? Like you feel something beyond what you see, almost on a soul level, maybe with the history or the culture or the people or the language or the food, or maybe a combination of all of it. But there's something that just inexplicably draws you in and affects you so wholly that you end up going back there again and again. I'm hoping there's somebody out there that feels that, not just me, because I've actually only had a handful of these kind of places over the past couple of decades of travel that affect me super profoundly like this. I've also had places that feel the complete opposite, like zero connection whatsoever, and plenty of places that land somewhere in the middle. So for me to make sense of what's happening when I feel that, I file those under the I must have lived a past life there category in my head, because I feel like there's just no other explanation for the depth to which I am drawn to these places. And for me, it's not even the places themselves that have anything to do with each other. It's more like my energy in connection with the place that seems to be the common denominator. It's so fascinating to me. It's just a fascinating phenomenon. And I'm starting with that idea today because we're going to talk about one of those places for me again, because we've definitely talked about it before on the show. And that is Baja California Sur to be exact, which is in Mexico. And I have a feeling that it's one of those places for my guest today too. I've invited Gabe Erivez from Agave Expeditions to share his story, which is also very deeply connected to this wild and magical corner of our planet. So, Gabe, thank you for joining us today, and welcome to the show.
Hi, yeah, thanks for having me. I've been pretty excited to hop on and chat a little bit about what I'm up to down here, and I'm glad the wind has been cooperating today.
Yeah, me too. For sure. I feel like we have so many things we can jump into. And I will say too, it's nice to finally talk to you, because I think I've been following you and your overland trips on Instagram for, I don't know, maybe a couple of years now. And we've chatted a little here and there because of our shared love, not only for Baja, but also for camper life, and also for one of those other places that I just mentioned for both of us, I think that is Patagonia, which we'll have to save for another conversation.
Yeah, we'll try to stay on topic. I won't go on any Patagonia tangents.
I know. We'll definitely, I feel like we should dig into that another time, because I know you do trips there as well. We're so grateful to Oboz Footwear and Osprey Packs for partnering with us and supporting the podcast, so please stay tuned for more about them later on. I have an opportunity for you to join me in real life for some real travel. Here's the latest Jump Adventures update. We are going to Greece for a bike and boat island hopping adventure this May 9th to 16th, 2025, and we still have space left. Check out jumpadventures.com to learn more and book now. We're going to have a yacht all to ourselves with ensuite cabins on board, so you get to sleep in the same bed every night as we start in Athens and make our way west toward the island of Corfu. You'll have your own bike for the week, e-bike if you want one, for cycling the islands as we go, in between meals crafted by our private chef on board, and all all the relaxing you want to do on the top deck under the Mediterranean sun. These bike and boat adventures are our most carefree and relaxed trips. All you have to do is say yes and show up, and there's still space. Head over to jumpadventures.com to grab your spot now, and we'll see you there. But before we even get into all of that, we probably should allow the audience to understand who you are and why you're here. And I really also just want to know more about your story, aside from, what we see on Instagram, what you do. But so why don't you tell us who you are and where you come from and what you do? Yeah.
So I'm Gabe. I'm the owner and naturalist at Agave Expeditions. We as an I guess we, because I work with my colleagues down here in Baja Sur. But I operate overlanding natural history expeditions in Baja. So it's not just focused on 4-wheel drive trips. It's not just focused on surfing and having fun and, eating tacos and drinking margaritas on the beach, which is fine if you enjoy traveling that way. But for me, these trips are more of a deeper immersion and an educative immersion into the peninsula on both the geographic end and the cultural end. That's what I do down here. As far as a little about me, I'm from San Diego, born and raised. My family, they're from El Paso, Texas, and Chihuahua, Mexico. Latino heritage. So I got, 1 foot on one side and 1 foot in the other. So, I think this has all just been a journey which just started trying to get to know my own culture deeper. And then it slowly evolved, through my broad interests, with trucks and campers and, desert ecology and anthropology. It all kind of wove into this organism, which is Agave Expeditions today, I guess.
I love that. I definitely want to talk about what you guys, what you, the royal you, does at with Agave Expeditions. But I feel like before we get there, I know that Baja specifically is really special to you, and I'm curious. I want to dig a little bit into your exploration of your dual culture lifestyle, because you just said you have 1 foot on this side and 1 foot on that side. What does it mean to you to live like that?
It's deep. It's interesting because it's this internal and external journey, right? It's this exploration of self, like the inner landscape, and then also the exterior landscape, right? And that's what the peninsula has become to me today. Man, where do I start? I think growing up, okay, so my parents, they grew up speaking Spanish in their household. All my relatives, all my family, predominantly Spanish and, bilingual, of course, with the folks on the U.S. side. But I don't know, part of me being raised as, speaking English as my first language, I just felt like there was still a big part of my culture that I wasn't a part of. And then I, fast forward to living in the Northwest, and definitely, I lived in a very rural area in the Northwest, and I was probably like one of just a handful of, brown people where I live. And I'm not going to get into that stuff too heavily, but just like there was definitely, I noticed a difference in the way people treated me at times. And it was the first time I'd ever experienced that. So for me, I was like, damn, like, I don't feel like I belong here. And then, I'm down in Mexico, and, sometimes people would, say, pues you're just a gringo or whatever, like everyone else. And I'm like, well, not according to my heritage. Like, I'm not actually, you know. Um, so then I just really got this internal fire that was sparked when my grandfather on my dad's side passed away. Um, so he worked at a mine in Mexico and also in El Paso, Texas. But yeah, he had a ranch, and my great grandfather had a ranch in the Chihuahuan Desert in the Sierra Madre on the east side in Chihuahua, and I'd always just heard stories about them, but never had a chance to experience it. So when he passed, I just felt like there was this massive novel that was pulled out from under me, right? This like amazing story of like my own heritage that was really pulled out without me really getting to read. And so at that moment, again, I was, doing surf trips and stuff like that into Baja, but something just clicked in me where I really started taking the time to go out of my way to get to know the people in the Baja California Peninsula on a deeper level. So yeah, just driving up to ranches and driving to fishing camps and trying to really create meaningful relationships. And then go from there, because obviously it's like that's Mexican culture. It can be in Baja Sur, it can be in Oaxaca, Chihuahua, it's all over. Different in certain aspects, of course, but also, a lot of the core similarities. So for me, it was like I couldn't drive to Chihuahua, right, by myself. It wasn't really feasible, but growing up in San Diego, Baja was at my back doorstep. So I just started taking these solo missions, down into Baja, getting to know the ranchers time and time again. And that's how it started, basically, through that. And then it evolved with all the other ingredients sprinkled in.
This is so cool. I'm like sitting over here like, wait, what are you saying? Because how many people live in San Diego and cross over the border and go surfing and never once like meet locals down there? Try to avoid them even, I mean, they're just going down to get their breaks. And so I love that you have put this together. Like, here's the story and this is where it clicked for you. Because I think this makes a lot of sense as an exploration of your heritage and your culture, and almost a belonging thing too. Like you go to Mexico and they're telling you you're a gringo, and you go to the United States and they're telling you that you're Mexican or whatever. It could be part of that piece too. That's like, well, what's in between here? Like how can I find this balance? How can I fit in?
Absolutely.
And I love that you sought out these people. And I would love for you to tell like a story or two about maybe some of the people that you met. Like, who are these people? Where did you go? What did you do to find them? Because I mean, I know that like they're so nice once you get in there, but you got to go find these people. Like they could be up in the mountains or so. What did you do? How did you do that? Also, good for you for doing that.
So yeah, how did I do this? How did I go about it? Well, first maps, of course. So yeah, looking at and first I started with Baja Sur, actually. Just looking at a map of the mountains, right, of the Sierra, and finding these little points on the map that I knew had very unique geography, very unique geology surrounding them. Typically, a body of water. They call them ojos de agua down here in Baja, like artesian springs. And so I just had a hunch, right? So yeah, the first one I went to, not the first, probably one of the most special ones that I visited was 2 years ago in the Sierra de la Laguna range, which is a Sky Island range in the southern, and you're familiar with probably. In the southern part of the peninsula. So this range, it was, actually once attached to mainland Mexico. And, as the two tectonic plates split, this range, this geologic formation was kind of dragging behind the peninsula actually as an island. And then it got basically lifted and pressed back into the Cape region as we know it today. Anyways, there's a canyon there in this range. It's called Cañón San Dionisio. Dionysius, of course, right? The Greek god of grapes.
Dionysus.
Dionysus, correct. But yeah, this canyon has been inhabited, by the Periku, the native people of the Cape region. I mean, thousands of years ago. I'm not an archaeologist. I have a rough idea, but I mean, people get not sensitive. It's like, yeah, you should have the right number on, the age, but there are different parties that debate, right, the actual dating of their inhabitation. So I'll just say they were there at one point. Sorry. Anyways, went up this canyon. There's water there year round. It's the main principal watershed of the Sierra Laguna Mountains. So of course, when you have water, especially an abundance of water in an arid region, you get a lot of diversity, right? And that goes from the plant life, but also cultural diversity as well amongst the ranches, right? Because the water brings these folks, it gives them options, right? It gives them options on what to grow. It gives them options on ranching. Like, there's just more room to get a little more creative than a ranch, let's say, in the northern central portion of Baja, where it's like, predominantly lomboy and it's overgrazed and it's kind of just like goat herding or cattle, right? And they're running on very thin margins. So anyways, yeah, I remember driving down the road, and on my right hand side, I just see this really lush patch, the Shangri-La, right? Like completely. And this was in, I don't remember, October, right? So it's post hurricane season. And, that's when you see that subtropical thorn scrub in all its glory. It looks like Jurassic Park, right? But I see this one patch that's just extremely dense. Big gate, the gate of, the desert hardwoods with the, pitaya dulce and the big mesquite posts running down. Big gate, and there's not a sign or anything. It definitely looks private as can be. But I was like, I'm gonna go in there. So yeah, parked my truck and I opened the gate, let myself in. And then, yeah, it was just one of the best decisions I've ever made of my life, really. Yeah, it was the Rosas family. Rogelio is the son. He studied birds and he's a guide, one of the most knowledgeable guides and just humans who I've ever met in Baja. But then, yeah, he lives there with his family and, brothers and sisters. It's a whole family operation there, that ranch. But yeah, they do, permaculture. They, are known for their cheese, their goat cheese. And yeah, they have some cattle. But I mean, it's just like every plant on that ranch pretty much has a use and they utilize it, whether it's like traditional folk medicine or right, just normal like cultivation, right? Like orchards, etc. I mean, they just know everything from top to bottom. And there have been several folks from the University of La Paz who've gone there to do different studies on bats and pollination and plant medicine and birds. It's a major hotspot for birds. It's actually the Sierra Laguna Range is one of the most biodiverse bird habitats in all of Mexico there. So again, it just, my mind was blown, kind of rambling, but it was just a lot. It was a very deep moment in my life. And I ended up staying there 5 months at that ranch. Yeah. So I stayed there 5 months almost, like on and off. Yeah. And just kind of got lost.
You just went in, introduced yourself, made friends, and then stayed.
Yeah, basically.
Wow.
We clicked. Yeah, we clicked very heavily. And yeah, that's a whole other story. Like honestly, like that the time that I spent there, I mean, that's an entire other podcast, honestly. I mean,
Maybe we should.
it's a book in and of itself. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
fully. I mean, very like deeply spiritual. Um just it was
Wow.
like going there for me was like plugging in a USB with like 12 years of knowledge of like living in the desert and how to move in the desert and read nature's signs and just feel the rhythm of a landscape, um, and become a little bit more fluent with that language. It was like being there, like all that just got plugged into me.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, thankful for everyone at the ranch, like they just passed it all to me. I mean,
Yeah.
so yeah, really special. And I'd say that's the biggest thing is I've just been very fortunate to have found so many people here in Baja Sur who have passed on to me knowledge like that without asking anything in return, without expecting anything. It's just the way to be, in a sense. So yeah, that's that. I'm kind
Wow.
of I'm kind of like
That's
just drifting off into
no, I love that though, because you
the
have just
ether
set
a little
up.
bit.
I love it though, because you really did just kind of set up for us. Like I can understand now where it all came from. Like, so essentially that's how you described yourself as a naturalist guide at the beginning, and this is why, right? This was your school, pretty much.
Yeah, completely. I mean, I have, done some stuff, Southwest College, in San Diego. They have a Baja California Studies program. And that was okay. But I ended up being like the TA for a bit. And it wasn't up to speed with what I was after, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like,
So yeah, it was a blend, right, of like the
yeah,
academic side a little bit, and then like my own studies, which like I dove pretty heavily into, and then paired that with like the actual time on the ranch.
immersion.
It's like the traditional ecological knowledge from these ranchers. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's a reason people are going to them to study plant medicine and like chemical
Yeah.
compounds of certain organic plants, materials, whatever. So yeah, it's been a blend, definitely.
It's like starting a language learning program at a university and then just going into an immersion and just
Mm-hmm.
diving in and living with a family, but it's just a different subject.
Yeah.
And in this case for you, it was more biodiversity. And I think that's amazing because, so you said that was 2 years ago?
Yeah, that was 2 years ago now. Yeah.
Were you running your trips before that?
2 years ago, I had a few, yeah, but I mean, it was not anywhere near where it was,
Like what it is now?
where it is right now. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I had like a couple. Yeah.
So what is it right now? What are these trips? What do they look like? What has this turned into?
What has it turned into? It depends on who you ask. No, I mean, I like to refer to these trips as quests. I'm like, yeah, I'm a Tolkien geek.
Love.
So yeah, I view it in this. Oh, there's a huge osprey out there. Anyways,
Oh, nice.
I view these trips not, definitely not a vacation. So for people who just want to come down and pull out all their gadgets out of their truck and just sit on the beach and look at a wave and have some beers or whatever, it is not. These trips are not for you, and you'll be frustrated completely. These trips take a lot of work. Yeah. Anyways, we meet in Calexico. It's typically a group of 3 to 4. That's my max. This last trip obviously was a whole different thing. With different objectives for sure. But yeah, it's 3 to 4 trucks max. I don't go above that because I like keeping the groups small, so we're light on our feet. But so also just that we have more flexibility, you know. Most people typically come down, you know, in pairs, typically two people per truck. Often we get like solo folks too. But yeah, once you get into like the groups of like 10 to 12 individuals, it's just too much, you know. You can't please
That's a lot.
everyone. And you have, you know, that many, you know, bathroom stops on the road, and then someone wants to get this, someone wants to get those tacos, someone wants the other. It's like, right? So
yeah, your logistics are a little limited when you have
fully
that style of travel, right?
completely. Yeah. So yeah, we start the trip, we cross, and then that's when we start our 14-day itineraries. I was offering 10-day too, but yeah, no more. I'm only doing 14 to like 20-day trips down here. I mean, complete expedition style, whatever you want to call it. I mean, again, that's something that people like to argue over, how you label trips or whatever. But yeah, I mean, that's it. You know, self-supported. It's the trips are a blend of, how would I say this? Yeah, I mean, it's a blend of the cultural. First, it's a blend of the maritime, and then the terrestrial landscapes, right, in the Baja Peninsula, which is one of the big things that makes it unique, right? You have the volcanic mountainous spine running north to south in the peninsula, Sky Island ranges from north to south, and then you have, of course, the classic Sonoran Desert. But then you also have twin seas. You have the Sea of Cortez, and you have the Pacific Ocean. Two vastly different and diverse marine ecosystems. So there's just a hell of a lot happening. So there's that side, right? The nature geek stuff. And there's also like the truck geek stuff, which is, off-roading and, you know, getting stuck and airing down the tires and, you know, okay, this is my camper, and I got like 12,000 lights, and I got, you know, 15,000 air compressors to, you know, fill up my tires, like whatever it is. Like there's that side of it, for people who are really into that to also get their fix. There's that. In the middle, which like what holds everything together, is the cultural side of these trips, and is by far the most important aspect of these trips. So we spend, a lot of time at various ranches, in, you know, small ranching communities, towns, up in the mountains, and all working with local guides. So that's the whole thing. It's like, I don't actually call myself a guide down here. Like, I just don't. I don't know what I would call myself. Again, you can see, like, I don't like labeling stuff. It's like, I am just me, Agave, whatever.
You're hosting the trip.
Yeah, I'm hosting the trip. Yeah, sure. Like Vision Quest leader. That works.
Vision Quest leader.
Yeah.
You should get a name badge for that.
Honestly, yeah. But yeah, I work with very small tourism operators throughout the peninsula in very remote areas, places that need the tourism for sure, but B, and mostly B, because they're just amazing humans who I've developed a very deep connection with, and they have a hell of a lot to share with everyone about their landscape and their very deep knowledge. I mean, some of their families go back 150 years in some of these places, you know. So they're the ones I basically want to, you know, bring the folks on these trips right to, you know, those teachers, you know, and allow us some time to really slow down and learn from these folks in these remote corners of Baja, you know, because it's like, again, people say, oh, this is regenerative tourism or whatever. Again, no labels, but the fact of the matter is, like, a lot of these places have a deep well of cultural knowledge and, traditional knowledge, like especially like traditional California ranchero heritage and knowledge. And that runs deep, right? Like that goes back to, when the Spaniards arrived. And a lot of stuff was intermixed. A lot of knowledge was intermixed between, these early Californios living shoulder to shoulder with the native population, right? So you have this blending of, right, like stuff that the Jesuits brought with them, which they actually garnered from, Northwest Africa, actually. So you have that side, but then you also have the local side from the indigenous population. So there's just, very unique stuff going on up there in the ranches. But anyways, I mean, we've had some pretty severe droughts here in southern Baja. Ranching is under a ton of pressure. And a lot of the younger generation here in Baja Sur, they're now leaving the ranches to go and work in the cities, right? But most of this younger generation, like, they have that deep knowledge that's been passed on to them from their parents and their grandparents. And there's a handful now that have done like their alternative tourism certificate in La Paz, and they've gone back to their community, to their town, to start these small little operations. And those are the people I have found through serendipity or magic of the desert gods or whatever.
Wow. Yeah.
But
it's because they're the ones doing the work now. They went and learned how to do it. They have the passion to do it. They're the ones that are out there. So it does make sense, even though it's probably feels rare. But we've actually talked about that on the show before. We've had a guest that did that study in La Paz. Neat. It's another connection. We've had that knowledge on the show before. So that's really cool that you work with people that are just like her that we talked to. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff going on in La Paz. Yeah, and it's neat to see.
And around, in the surrounding area. My goodness.
Yeah.
We'll come right back to that. Let's take a moment now to thank our wonderful show sponsors. Osprey is the market leader in technical outdoor, travel, and everyday packs. And I've personally used Osprey packs since 2015. My favorites are the Fairview Trek 50 for multi-day hikes, the Cirrus 24 for day hikes, the Transporter Rolling Duffel 60, which is my trusty check luggage for faraway adventures, and of course, the countless packing cubes I use to organize everything that goes in them. We are proud to support each other on the podcast and beyond. We love getting outside, and we want to see more people outdoors. So find out more and join us at osprey.com. During the month of April, join me and Oboz Footwear for the fun and friendly Trails for Trees Challenge, an invitation to hike as many trails as you can in the entire month of April. For every hike over a mile, Oboz will plant a tree, and you get entered to win weekly prizes. So the more you hike, the more trees you will help plant, and the more chances you have to win. It's free, and you can register and join anytime from April 1st to April 30th. It's open to walkers, hikers, runners, and people using mobility assistive devices. Find out more and join us at trailsfortrees.com. I actually I hosted a group trip down there last year, and we did part ranch, part islands, just to try and get both of the cultures of what you were saying, the terrestrial and the maritime. And I mean, we try, right? We try to fit these things into a week, and we try to see if it's going to spark something for the people who are coming, because I didn't see it coming when I first went to Baja. I did not expect to ever go back, actually, after the first time I went there. And now, like, I've spent so much time there. I might even, I don't know. I'm like thinking about booking a last minute ticket there right now, because I love it down there. It's just really affected me. But I love that you have gone so grassroots with it, and that's the piece that you're trying to share with people. And you do it naturally, just by being who you are and saying, hey, let's go explore. This is what we're going to do. And here's this, here's my friend at this ranch that we know that we're going to learn from. And I want to know, I'm going to ask you a question that I don't think you've answered yet, but I want to know, like, What is it about Baja, maybe? What is it about Baja that you want other people to understand?
There's a lot. Don't ask me questions like that because I'll just talk again for like 20 minutes straight.
Well, we are on a
Uninterrupted.
podcast, they've
No,
got
no, no.
people
I know. But
listening.
it's like,
They
I
want to
just feel
know.
like gosh. So there's a lot of things that, yeah, I wish people. You asked what I wish people would know about Baja.
Yeah, like what you want people to understand about Baja.
What I want people to understand. Okay. Pretty loaded. Definitely a lot. For sure. And this is not in order of importance or anything, but just something that really spoke to me actually, based off of an experience I had yesterday here where I was camped actually. So yeah, there's some other fellas camped a little further down the beach in a truck, old Chevy with the camper shell and 2 seat kayaks. So yeah, it was the evening and I just walked down to say hi, introduce myself to the neighbors. And yeah, I just got a real weird vibe from them. And typically not, it was something that I had never really experienced down here before. But yeah, the guys are probably, 62, early 60s. They're from Canada. And yeah, I said, hey, how's it going? Introduced myself. And they're just being pretty unfriendly, and kind of, okay. I read the room, right? So I was like, all right, I'll take care. And they're like, yeah, like it just can't go anywhere, now without seeing people here in Baja. I've been coming here for 50 years or 40 years. And yeah, things have just changed. And I said, yeah, I mean, it's the nature of the world, right? It's in constant flux. And this morning I was reflecting on that interaction. And I was just thinking of like people's perception of what is Baja, right? So there's the perception of the visiting traveler, the visitor, right? Who's here for, pure, and in a sense, right? Like it can be classified as like these hedonistic pursuits or whatever, right? But just to simply sit there and enjoy your space of nature, right? Which like, that's awesome. But then people's perception is that like, okay, well that is what represents the entire peninsula. And a week before that, I was with ranchers in the Sierra de San Francisco, and and they've been there. That community's been there, 150 years and occupied by natives for, arguably 9,200, right? But anyways, it's like they're telling me about the drought and how difficult life has been, right? And so for me, it's like, I think what I'd like people to understand is like, Baja is not just these awe-inspiring, coastlines and heaps of, physical, visual stimuli. There are people here just like everywhere else. And they have their struggles just like everywhere else. And they also have hopes and dreams just like everyone else, right? So yeah, I think if some of these places, some of these ranchers, can garner a little more income, a little more economic stability, in order to have a high quality of living, and they're the ones who are from here. Like, we have no say, right? We have no say. Canadians, people from the USA, wherever you're from, it's like the people rooted here are the people who dictate what's up, right? And so I reflected on that and thought about like the way I perceive now being here, and how, like, to be honest, I don't get a lot out of it. Like, just sitting on a beach here, I get super bored. It sounds terrible, but I do. Like, I'll sit in glass for, wildlife or whatever with the binos, but it's like right now I have an itch. Like, I got to get up to the mountains. Like, I got to be where the culture meets the wild landscapes. Like, that's where the magic happens. It's like the magic doesn't happen just sitting on a beach. Like, you may see something cool, but what else, right? It's like, I want to see a rancher come up with his mule that just got bit by a rattlesnake, and then I want to see what plant he cuts, and I want to see when he wraps the bark around that bite and then wraps a gauze around it and then tells me, hey, this is a plant that actually is a natural anti-venom that we've been using for 150 years. That's the stuff to me that's fascinating. Anyways, again, I'm rambling, but yeah, I think that's what I'd like people to understand is just like there's a very, human aspect to this peninsula, more than just, what you see on Instagram and, hanging out on the beach, basically, so it's like, it's a place to be enjoyed, but also respected deeply, for sure.
I love that. I actually feel like we could talk another hour just about that part, because I think that is what drew me into the real place that is Baja. Because the first time I went, I was just kind of on a beach for the beach experience. And we were in Escondido. What was it called? Playa, ¿cómo es que se llama? It's near Cerritos, but north, not Santos. I'm forgetting the word.
Pescadero.
Pescadero. That's the one. We stayed there for like 5 weeks, which was entirely too long because you drive through that town and you blink and you miss it. Like it was way too long for me to be on a beach, and I didn't learn anything. And I only met like other white people, other expats that were living there. And frankly, it didn't leave a super great impression for me. I was like, I don't really get it. I don't cool. I don't really need to come back here. And then I was invited back to dive more into the adventure side of it. And that was back in 2015. And that's when I completely, I felt it. I went to Loreto for the first time, and that's a Pueblo Mágico, you can feel it. I felt it as soon as I got there. I was like, what is this place? I didn't even know at that point, but what is this? Where have I just happened upon? What's going on here? And I ended up moving back there and staying for like 3 months, awesome. just to explore that feeling, like what is happening here, and it was there that I learned, that right up the hill in San Javier, they only got electricity 2 years before. What? Yeah, that's real. This was 2016 that I was there, and they had just gotten electricity, set up to the schools and everything. This is a hard life. And that's where I started really meeting the ranchers and experiencing what happens behind those gates, and that is where it became kind of alive for me. And I started paying more attention to what's happening, beyond what it is that you see, it's more of there's so much more to the story. And now I've been back so many times, and I'm bringing people there, and I have my own truck camper now, and I want to take that down there at some point. And but I feel like you really just touched on something so important that we actually could apply to so many places in the world, right? Exactly. There's always a story. Yes. There's always people, and I can tell that you really connected to people. Yeah. There's always something going on besides, what it is that's marketed, what you see.
Yeah. No, of course. And that's a huge thing, actually. The light bulb went off a little bit for me when you said that. It's a huge part of these trips, right, is just I'm not showing people how to travel at all. It's not that. But it's just how to maybe shift your perspective a touch, to where you are thinking about these different elements while you're traveling, and maybe seeking other operators elsewhere in the globe who kind of have a similar perspective, a similar stance, a similar flow, and applying that to the rest of your travels throughout the world. That's the whole thing, is try to like give people maybe some tools that they can, or lessons that they can take back home with them. That's the important part, because if people just come down, have fun, go to the beaches, you know, whatever it is down here, and then go back home, it's like, and it's left there, it's like it's left here, you don't take anything back with you. I mean, again, I'm not going to say it's right or wrong. It's just, it's not something that I'm interested in being involved with, you know?
Yep. I totally understand that. I really do. And I respect that. And I love that you're doing these four-wheel camper trips, or I guess not four-wheel camper, whatever, camper trips.
Some are specific four-wheel camper only trips.
Do you ever get solo females?
Random
question.
Yes. Yeah. I've had 2 on these trips.
Cool.
Two separate occasions. I mean, honestly, all sorts of people. You know, river guides. Yeah, river guides, like retired pilots, retired doctors. Just a whole motley crew of folks. And
sweet.
It's sweet when everyone gets together, and especially the best part is, obviously, no matter what you're doing, the best part is when everybody clicks super heavy, and it changes the whole flow of the trip. Because then it's like I'm kind of guiding, like I'm orchestrating a lot of it, but also I kind of like I cut the leash a little bit. Where I'm like, hey, like, you know, you guys get together, discuss amongst yourselves, like, how's everybody feeling? Like, you guys want to stay another 2 days? Like, we can stay another 2 days. If this place is really just speaking to everyone here, I'll make some adjustments down the itinerary, and we can stay an extra 2. So stuff like that creates special trips for sure. And I think that could be said for like your trips. I mean, anything involving people, right? It's like good things happen when you have a very bonded group, you know?
That are down for adventure and ready for open to whatever is magic is going to happen. Leaving room for the magic. I love that.
Honestly, yeah. And that's the best part, I think, is one of the best parts after the trip. Then they're all traveling and hanging out stateside. They're adventuring together, you know? So it's like, what a neat way to make friends, you know, and build community.
That we definitely have in common.
Yeah.
Like my people do that too. You know, it's so cool to see, because as a facilitator, you understand you're just a facilitator, you know, and these things happen right in front of your eyes and you get to witness it. And really incredible relationships and education comes out of it, and people go back changed and with goals to start doing things differently or whatever it is. Yeah, that's the power, I think, of adventure travel. I mean, I know you don't want to label, but I actually do think it's okay to label that, because I believe that adventure travel exists in the intersection of the activity that people love to do and the culture that exists in the destination where you are, you know, and then like where those things meet is where it just kind of, you get that physical aspect that you love, you know, in your case, it's the truck, whatever the fix is that you need, that like gets you out on the road, you know, and then you also have the stage on which it is happening. And that's by design. You know, we're taking you to see this ranch or this, you know, this person, so that you can dive in and have that soak in and become part of your story, hopefully, is the idea.
Yeah.
So where are you right now?
I am in my 4-wheel camper, Hawk front dinette.
I can tell that it is that, by the way, by the where you're sitting. I'm like, oh, you have nice a bigger truck than me, for sure. Yeah.
Kind of. Now, if a Granby would be sweet. But yeah.
Flatbed?
Right now,
Granby flatbed, maybe
Granby
one day?
flatbed would be awesome. But no, you know, again, on the 4-wheel camper trips, especially, like, okay, day 4, we do camper tours. One of the most popular things on these trips. So yeah, day 4 we have happy hour, 3:30, and then after that, camper tours down the line, checking out everybody's setup.
Yeah, I
You
love
know,
it.
it's cool to see like for me, everyone really seems to geek out like on the little modifications and all
Sure.
that.
Yeah, of
I have
course.
very few. But for me, what I dig is beyond that, like the physical manifestations of that. It's like the thought process though behind it. So for me, it's like running these trips with strangers in Baja, 14 days. It's a complete social experiment, right? And I'm like the puppeteer, reading people, and then pulling strings, adjusting on the fly. And so the camper tours, they're a great way to like quickly get to know certain people on a deeper level, and even seeing like, okay, they like their setup this way, like extremely organized. That may indicate like, they do like to have a lot of order and maybe control over their environment, right? So like these small indicators, which then cue to me like, hey, just not act accordingly, but they just help me navigate,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
This ecosystem. But beyond that, it's just really neat to see everyone's own philosophy in how they travel. I think it's super cool, and my favorite camper tours have always been like the DIY folks, where they're like removing stuff out of the 4-wheel campers. Even some of them like pretty new. They're like, I don't need this, or it doesn't work the way I want it. They're just getting rid of it.
Yeah.
Spending a weekend in their shop, etc., and setting something up that's extremely practical and functional. So I dig that for sure. And then there's also the other side.
Kinds.
Yeah. There's the other side where people are just like, hey, this is my camper. That's the camper. Like, I just enjoy being outside. I like just using the camper as a medium to get me to the places that I deeply love.
Sure.
And that's me. It's like, it's a camper, it's a truck. Like I can't talk an hour about it. It's just like,
I'm sure you could. I'm sure you could.
Oh my God. No, that was a lie. I could, yeah, for sure. But anyways.
I mean, I could probably talk about your camper for an hour too,
Yeah.
Do you ever get Swifts down there?
Do you have a Swift?
Itty bitties? Yeah.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
That'd be the first.
Oh, okay.
Swift.
Well, maybe I should make it happen.
Or Kestrel. Do you know the Kestrel?
No, those are older, right?
No, Finch. Or is it a Finch? Swift.
The Raven is also small, but they're still bigger than the Swift. The Swift is the tiniest one.
Yeah. The tiniest, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because I have a little Tacoma with a 5-foot bed, so it's the smallest.
Oh, you got the 4-door. Okay, gotcha. That'd be the first. Yeah.
Well, it's dying to go. It wants to go. I just haven't done it yet. And actually, I love that you do the trips, because even as, I will say this out loud, even as seasoned as I am, as a traveler, also having had my camper now for, I don't know how, 2 years almost, a year and a half, and living in it for a lot of time, and even spending as much time in Baja as I have, I still at this point am not interested in doing that trip alone. I'm just not interested in doing that trip solo. And so your trips would actually be perfect for me. So maybe I should just do it one of these days.
Yeah. No, the invite is there. The majority of my clients on these trips, I think hardly any of them are actually really concerned with the safety side.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like the group travel, the group dynamic seems to appeal to them. Just like, making friends and all that kind of stuff. But like a small percentage of that for sure is like, a little bit of safety, I would say. Yeah. But it's honestly like the biggest thing is just driving like the Transpeninsular Highway. It is in the worst condition it has been in a long time, decades probably. So yeah, it is definitely better to travel in a small group, and I mean that like outside of my trips. If you can just find,
Yeah.
like, for the listeners who are interested in Baja, like, definitely recommend traveling in a group. There's like a Facebook group, Baja Caravans, Baja Overlanding is another one. But yeah, I definitely highly recommend people traveling in a group, not for like the banditos or the boogeyman or the cartel or any of that stuff. That's completely overplayed by folks who just do not spend enough time down here, and who also just don't speak the language, so they just like can't even figure like what's the actual deal going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of misinformation just spread over Facebook and stuff. But anyways, just for the potholes, travel in a group, 2 to 3 people, even another vehicle, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good to go for sure.
It is a lot of driving too, and which is another reason that I would want to maybe not go by myself. But it's we took 4 rigs down there once, just a couple of years ago, and it was such an incredible time. But it wasn't. I didn't have my truck then, or I had my truck. I didn't have my camper then, so it wasn't with my own setup. And I got this setup and set my truck up, like got the tires I need so that I could do Baja. So it's gonna happen one of these days. I can't not. I mean, I think it's just a matter of time for me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And a lot of people do it solo too. I mean, once you get the experience, you kind of figure out like your route down, and you could do it.
Oh, I definitely, I'll make it happen.
To start.
Maybe we should do a jump agave trip. That would be fun. See who out there is. I know I got some people who have truck campers who'd be interested. To do it. Where actually are you right now? Are you in a secret cove that you won't tell us?
I am
that's
totally fine. Top secret cove.
Don't tell us. Don't say it out loud. Never mind.
Beneath some cave art.
Oh, nice. Ooh,
there's 2 different sites. There's one site right there. I could actually kind of see the cave, and there's another one like that way on the ridge. It's in a very it's in a pretty well trafficked stretch. But you have to drive into a ranch, drive like basically right through, in between 2 of their main buildings, in between like the parents' house and the kids' house, basically, and you have to like go through the gate and go in between. But they're close friends of mine, and down the beach there's probably, around the other point there's probably like 40 trucks, monster truck, Euro rigs camped. And I'm here solo.
Sweet.
Yep.
And this is why you travel with Gabe.
The little hidden pockets. Yeah.
I love that. Well, cool. It's been really fun to learn more about you and what you do in person instead of just seeing what your Instagram is. But your Instagram is definitely educational and beautiful, and like one of those ones that I always look at what you're doing because I know that it's going to be sunny and like inspiring. So where can people find you if they want to learn more, if they want to follow you? Very active on Instagram. So Baja Agave Expeditions on Instagram. Email. I have a website, agaveexpeditions.com. And then, email agaveexpeditionsbaja@gmail. Just, pretty simple. But mostly I prefer if people just call me. But I won't give out my my personal phone number, but typically, even like email correspondence will hit like 2 or 3 ping pong back, and then I'll just tell them like, hey, just call me. Like I'm not a big fish, I like to, develop that connection off the bat. And that's just how I am, so. I think we can tell you're the people person. You are though. Like
At
you're interested in the
times,
relationship and yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, like for sure, introvert, extrovert, or extrovert, introvert. I don't know. Either way, now there's times where I'm just like, I cannot be bothered. And when I
Sure.
cannot be bothered, everyone completely knows that I cannot be bothered. Like there's zero murky water there. I'll just put it that way. So, and that's for better or for worse, you know, but I don't know. I am who I am.
Yeah, that's authenticity. I wouldn't worry so much about that. I think I can relate. All right. Well, you guys should definitely give Gabe a follow. He's definitely worth following. And yeah, this has been just a really cool conversation. We've taken it in a lot of directions, but ultimately, I feel like we've gotten to see a little dose of Baja through your eyes. Well, I do think that you and I could chat here forever and about so many things. So I think it's time to we'll wrap this one up. Maybe we'll have a second one someday over, I don't know, any direction of conversation, Patagonia, camper life, whatever it is. But for now, yeah, it's been really cool to really get a chance to see Baja through your eyes and understand why, like where your love for it comes from and why you want to share that with people. I think it's really neat. And I think it's only a matter of time before our paths are going to cross down there, hopefully in our trucks.
Yes. Fingers crossed in the trucks.
All right.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me. And yeah, that's it. It was great.
Cool.
I enjoyed it.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Keep
Until
it up.
next time.
Yeah.